Hey, this is Andrew Brown. In this video, we're going to take a look at Kendra. So Kendra is a search engine that allows you to use natural language as opposed to key search terms. There are two versions of this, Developer and Enterprise. Developer has a free tier of so many hours for 30 days. I'm going to go ahead and start this off. So I want to create an index, but I want to programmatically do this because I already have the code for it. And I figured that that will be the best way to do it. So what we'll do is go ahead into our repo. This is just at AWS examples. I've launched this in Gitpod. You use whatever you want, or you could use this Gitpod environment and get going right away. So go ahead and type in Kendra. I'm going to make a new file here, just call it a readme.md, because we'll do everything that will be CLI driven. So we have AWS Kendra, create index. And if you're wondering, how do I know this off the top of my head? I don't. I'm just following from our slides here and we'll adjust accordingly. But we could go to the AWS CLI documentation if we want to. But I'll see how far we get just doing this way here. Description. And we'll say my index. And then we need a role arn. So we need some kind of arn here. And we'll have to go over to roles. We'll say Kendra IAM role example. Let's see if we can, for index, and see if we can get an example one. IAM roles for indexes. We'll expand this over here. So this has a role that allows Kendra to access CloudWatch logs. A role policy, Kendra access secrets manager if you're using context of secrets manager. No, I just want to keep it nice and simple. Is there anything else that we need to do? Doesn't use a bucket policy that grants permissions to Kendra principal. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here. When you create your index data source, Kendra needs access to AWS resources required by Kendra resource. You must create an identity. When you call the operation, provide the ARN. So what I want to know is, like, what does it need access to? Because you'd think that it would need access not to CloudWatch logs, but also whatever the source is, like an S3 bucket. If we go down below here, we see data sources. So maybe we do have to configure it for that. But at the same time, the data sources also has its own one, so maybe that's not the case. So what we'll do is we'll just copy this one for now. Okay, I'm going to make my way over to here. I just want to, we'll just say index policy. I'm not going to create them. I'll create them through the console just because it's a pain to create policies through CLI. But I'm just going to place them here so you have easy access to it. Of course, you'll have to adjust these according to your account. So I'm going to go over to here and grab my account ID here. And we'll just replace this as so. Same thing with this one. We'll replace that there. And I don't know if this has to be in C Essential or US East 1. I'm going to just do everything in US East 1 here today, just to make my life a lot easier because everything just happens to work in US East 1. And these ML services seem to give me a bit of trouble. So it looks pretty straightforward. Okay, so we'll go over to here and I'll create a new policy. And we'll create that policy. This will be, whoops. Just want to go to JSON here and we will copy the contents here and paste it in. We'll hit next. We'll call this Kendra index ARN or index or policy. We'll go to roles here. Kendra. I can't name it Kendra. Well, what do I put there then? We'll go back here. Sometimes when that happens, you have to do like a custom trust policy. And I'll add the principal here. We'll say Kendra again, Kendra. Okay. Give me a second to find out how do we make this, okay? I just scrolled down here and you can see that it has a this here. This is all I was looking for. I don't ever know what the service principal names are, so we'll go ahead and copy that, and that's probably what it wants. So it's frustrating that you can't get it from this snazzy editor that's supposed to make everything really easy. So that'll be our trust policy. And we'll go next. And then I want to find my one for Kendra. So it looks like there are some policies that already exist, but I'm going to take the policy that I have here for the index policy. We'll go ahead and hit next. So we'll say Kendra index role, and we'll go down and create this. And we should now have that. If we type in Kendra here, I can get that ARN, and I'm going to bring that back over to here, and I'm going to paste it here. And so this should be what we need to create our role. So go ahead and give this a go. I did not specify where this is, so I'm going to go back and just delete this first because that's not what I wanted to do. I said I'm going to do everything in US East 1, and so I'm going to run into problems if I don't delete that. So we'll go over to here, and can I delete this index? Not easily, apparently. Also, the other question is, am I using production or development? So I'm going to go over, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm not using the production one. Like, how does it know which one I'm using? I want this. We'll go to version 2 here. Addition. Okay, what does it default to? The default value is enterprise? Are you kidding me? Oh, man. All right, well, I guess I'm going to have to wait for this to create, but you don't want the enterprise one. I'll show you why. So we'll go to pricing here, Kendra pricing. Like, I don't think it's going to cost much, but why would that default to that? That's crazy. Pricing per hour, etc., etc. $1.04 per hour. So stupid. Why would they default it to enterprise? And there's no way to delete it as it's creating. So silly. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to tell AWS, like, hey, you shouldn't default to enterprise because that's common sense. Anyway, we'll go ahead and do this. Region US East 1. And I'm just going to make sure we have to delete that. Did it finish yet or what? Holy smokes, that takes a while to create. All right, so we'll go back over to our other one here. And I'm just switching regions into US East. Maybe this one's faster. Not really. Anyway, so we'll wait for these indexes to create. I'll be back here whenever it takes. All right, let's take a look here and see if these indexes completed so I can delete one. So this one is in CA Central, which is the one I do not want because it's enterprise, even though, can we tell if it's enterprise here? How would we know? It doesn't say. That's kind of ick. I don't like that. But anyway, we'll go ahead and we'll delete this one because this one, again, this is the CA Central one. It was hard to refresh, make sure I'm in the right place. And this is the one I do not want. Delete my index. Other reasons. I wanted to spin up the dev one, but the API defaults to enterprise. Come on, AWS. Get it together. Okay. Oh, just let me delete it. Let me delete it. Why do I need any reason to delete it? Man, that's terrible. Anyway, so that one's deleting. That's totally fine because we have our index, which gives us free stuff. I'm going to assume that we don't want to keep this lying around, so we'll do our best to get this rolling here. We're going to have to add our data source, so I'm just going to click into here, and you can see we have examples of data sources that we can add. I want to programmatically do this as much as we can. So this will be for creating our index. And then the next thing is we need our data source. So creating AWS Kendra, create data source index ID, and we'll need the name, and then we'll need the role arn. We'll need the type here, type. This will be S3. And then we'll need the configuration in here. So we'll do this. I'm just, again, following what I have in my example above. Bucket name. And so we'll need a bucket. Say AWS S3 MB S3 : Kendra example. Put some numbers here on the end. I'm going to just make sure that I place this in region US East 1 to make my life a lot easier. Okay, so we'll do that. I don't have any data in this bucket yet, but we're going to go ahead and create this source here. So just say my data source, and then we need an index here. It's supposed to be S3 here. So we'll go back over to Kendra, and I want this one here. Do we have an ARN somewhere, anywhere? Thank you. That's the role ARN, but I actually want the index. That's what I want, is the index, not the role ARN here. Okay, and so the next thing I need is I'll need another role ARN, and this is going to be for the data source. So I'm looking specifically for S3. We'll go down here. Kendra doesn't use bucket policy that grants permission to Kendra principal to interact with the bucket. Instead, it uses an IAM rule. That's fine. It's not a big deal. So a required role policy to Kendra. An optional role policy if you're using KMS, which I'm not. Optional Kendra for the S3 bucket while using VPC, which I am not. An optional role policy to enter Kendra while using permissive. I'm not doing that. So we will just go back up to our first example, which is here. And I'm going to grab this and we'll go over to here and we'll say data source policy JSON, and we'll paste this in. This is going to be US East 1. And then we will bring in our ID or our account ID. Yours is going to be different from mine, so obviously do what you need to do for you. Okay, and we need our bucket, which is over here. This is the name of our bucket. So this will just be here. Same thing with this here. Looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. We'll go back over to IAM policies. We'll create that. Create a policy. We will go over to JSON and we'll paste that in. We'll go next. We'll say Kendra data source policy. We'll create that policy there. I'm going to create a role. I remember we did this before and it was, yeah, custom trust policy here. And I'm going to go and see what that is. I'm just going to grab it from this one here. This is what we want. So it's Kendra in there. We'll go next. And we'll say data source. Next, we'll say Kendra data source role. We'll go ahead and create that. And I want to grab its ARN, which is here, and we'll make our way back over to our data policy. We're going to go ahead and paste in the role ARN here. Okay, so now that is in place. We need to know what our bucket name is, so we'll go ahead and just grab that as such and just place the bucket name as such, and we'll go ahead and copy that. I'm going to type in clear here. Before I do anything else, I'm just going to again specify the region US East 1. And we'll go ahead and paste that in. We'll try that again. It did not copy paste correctly. It does not like something. Am I missing something? Maybe it's something in here because all these are correct. I'm just checking the syntax here. I'm thinking what it is. I'm looking at mine, and this one looks a little bit mucked up here. It doesn't even look right. It's probably something with our policy here. I wonder if we could just try to change this to shorter syntax. So I'm going to just try to change this. Okay, we'll just say nested shorthand JSON syntax AWS, because I just can't seem to remember how to do that. So I'm just trying to figure out what happens when it's nested. It should show a nested example. Well, I'm going to give this a go and see if this works. No, we'll just hit enter, see what it complains about. Invalid type for the parameter configuration, bucket Kendra name, type class, shows dictionary. Okay, well, what we could do, I could just cheat here. What I'm going to do here is just do this. I know that's what it was going to complain about. I just knew it. And we'll see if it prefers this syntax here. Sometimes you have to play around with it a bit. Okay, let's just... I'm going to go ask ChatGPT to fix this, because I don't want to play with the syntax all day here. ChatGPT, fix the syntax for the JSON configuration. And let's see if it helps it out here. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this. And whatever it didn't like, this should hopefully fix it. For customer ID not found. Here we're missing the region, so I'm going to just try this again here with the region. Remember, mine is defaulting to CA Central 1. Yours might default to anywhere. There we go. So now it's created the data source. Now that doesn't mean the data is synced, but we are partly way there. For Kendra to work, we need to supply it data. So I guess that is the next step. Let's take a look here. And so that's what I'm going to look at next is what format does the data need to be in. All right, so I thought maybe it would allow for JSON structure, but it looks like it can deal with HTML, XML, CSV, a bunch of stuff. So we need a bunch of data. I'm wondering if there's some way we could like download the AWS docs or something. Whoa, this looks ugly. It's the new look that they're giving everything. I can't remember the name of it. It's called Cloudscape or something. Just hideous. Is there a way to download the AWS docs? Download the AWS docs. I'm trying to think of like a big PDF file that we can work with. PDF. You know what we could do is we could. No. I'm gonna have to figure something out. Give me a second, okay? So what I'm looking for is like a downloadable PDF, maybe with like Oliver Twist or something. Assuming that it is in proper text. Let's take a look here. Hopefully this is not just scanned text and actually is text. So what we got here. Oh man, it looks like it's scanned. Does it actually have text inside of it? That's not going to work. Okay, give me a sec. I'm going to try to find something that we can use. All right, so maybe this one works. So I just, again, it was the first link here. So hopefully you can download this as well. I'm going to grab the link in here and just say like, I'm not sure why it does that, but like book to watch or Oliver Twist. So what I'm hoping is that we can place it in there and then search about Oliver Twist. So we'll go ahead and download this somehow. So we'll go ahead and download that. I'm not exactly sure how large this is. I don't think it's particularly large. So it shouldn't be that big of an issue. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to here, and we'll drag in this here. Okay, so this is now in here. And I mean, I'm just putting it here so you can get access to it. You have the link here as well, but we need to place this in our bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy that. So I'm going to go ahead and just say CP Oliver Twist as such. Go CD into Kendra here, and we will copy this here. PDF, I guess, PDF. Okay, that's uploaded. And so the next thing we're going to need to do is sync our stuff. So we'll go AWS Kendra start data source sync job, and then it needs an ID, which is the data source ID, and then the index ID. So we do have the index ID, which is up here. So we'll go ahead and grab that. We need the data source ID, which is this, I believe. So we'll go ahead and use that. And so this should start our data sync job. Okay. All right, so we have an error here. Again, it's the region that's missing. We'll try this again. Okay, so now it is syncing our data. Let's make our way over to here. I'm not sure what it looks like when it's syncing, so we'll just go here, and it apparently is currently syncing, so we'll wait for that to finish however long it takes, okay? All right, so it looks like that our data source is ready, so that's really interesting. The next thing would be to actually query and see what information we could get. So let's go ahead and see if our query works, as we have done quite a bit here, so it'd be interesting if this actually does work. So let's go ahead and query. So let's say AWS Kendra query. Let's say index ID, which we have right here. And then we'll say query text. So let's ChatGPT. What are some things what are key things to ask about? Actually, you know what? Instead of doing that, I'll query it. I was going to say, like, what could we ask about Oliver Twist? We'll say, what characters are in the book Oliver Twist? Okay, let's see if that works. I wonder if we'll have to specify the region. I just created the data source. I just synced it again. I didn't need to do that because it copied the old one. So I really wanted this one. I'm not sure if we're going to have to wait again. Hopefully we don't have to. Let's go find out. And we're getting something back. I mean, we're getting stuff back. So when a book's document owners submits their work for profits. So I guess the idea is that, like, I guess if we had a bunch of documents, I think I'm misunderstanding how we want Kendra to work. So maybe what Kendra's supposed to do is she's supposed to have a bunch of documents, and it's supposed to narrow down to some very specific document that you're looking for. And since there's only one document, it's obviously going to return the Oliver Twist one. So that doesn't serve as a very good example. Probably what would work better is if we took this book and we broke it up into separate pages. because there's a lot of pages. I wonder if there's a way that we could do that programmatically. Just give me a moment and figure that out, okay? All right, so since I have the Adobe suite, I'm just opening this up in Adobe Acrobat, and they say if you go to the organized pages, there's a way to split all this stuff. Number of pages. I mean, what does that mean? There's 374, so I'm going to put 374, and hopefully this splits it into multiple documents. Add the documents to be split listed below. Okay. And I'll say okay. Was not split because there's already 74 pages or smaller. Okay, let's just try 10 maybe. Split. It's not very clear as to how this is supposed to work. So I think what this is doing is splitting into 10 parts. Okay, and so, or every 10 pages. So you can see now I have a bunch of pages, all right? So that's going to make things a little bit easier to work with. So what I'm going to do is go back over to here. I'm going to make a folder called split. I'll upload this stuff just because if you want to do this as well, you're going to have to utilize the same files. And I'm going to want to sync all of these pages. So what we'll do is we'll actually say AWS sync the split directory. I'll have to look this up. AWS S3 sync command. So I don't use it every single day. We'll go down to examples. So it'd be period. So I'm going to cd into that directory. So I'm going to just say cd split. Because I don't want to, because it might upload the entire, what do you call it? The entire, put these in subdirectories. I don't want to do that because I don't know if it will support that, the Kendra there. So I'm going to go ahead and try this again. Before I do that, I'm going to go into the bucket. And we'll go into, was this Kendra? And I'm going to go ahead and just delete this file. And I'm going to go back over to here, and I'm going to go ahead and sync this. Okay, so now all the parts are synced. I'm going to go back over to our data source, and I'm going to sync it again. And so now what I'm hoping for is that once this is synced, when we do our query, it'll pick something more relevant. So what I'm going to do is pull up a particular part, like part 32 here. And so this is chapter 45. The old man was up betimes next morning and waited impatiently. So what I'm looking for is some text here to contextualize. Give me a moment to read here and I'll figure something out. So I'm just take this quote here. You can talk as you eat, can't you? Okay. So I don't know. It's really hard to think of a practical example here, but I'm going to do my best as much as I can. So we'll go ahead and just paste this in here as such. I'm not saying that our query is done, but we'll go ahead and take a look here. It looks like our last sync actually failed. I'm not sure if that was literally the last sync that I did. Why would it have failed? I didn't even know these could fail. Failed to call batch delete document. Please make sure the IAM role has permissions. Okay, I did not know that would be an issue. And who needs access to do that? Batch delete document for Kendra's data source rule. Okay. So we'll go back over to S3. Apparently our data source role is not sufficient enough. We'll go to IAM, sorry. And we'll go to policies. And in here we'll go to Kendra, our data source. And we'll edit it. Let's see what permissions we have. We have batch delete document, batch put document. What did it want? Batch delete document. It has that. Oh, you know what it is? We didn't put the index ID in here. So that's our issue. So I'm going to go back over to Kendra, and we'll go to indexes. And we will grab our index ID. And we'll paste that in as such. And so that should resolve that issue. I want to make sure this is using the latest policy version. It is. I'm going to wait 30 seconds before I run this command again because it does take a little bit of time for the stuff to propagate. So I'm just going to pause here and be back in 30 seconds. All right, let's go ahead and try to update our data source this time. And we'll make our way back over to Kendra. And to our data sources. And now it's syncing. Okay, this is the last failure, so hopefully it doesn't take too long to sync that data. So we'll just wait a few minutes here, okay? All right, so it looks like that's synced pretty darn fast. We'll go back over to our query. I think I updated it with this quote. So I'm hoping that it's going to pull out that section. We'll hit enter, and we'll see what it returns back. And so we get back text from it. So well, here I know what's the matter, don't you worry, etc. Which document is it? What did it pull from? Does it tell us here? Part 32. Okay, so yeah, it's pulling out the relevant pages. And I mean, that's basically what we wanted. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Of course, if you want to integrate with your app, you'd use an SDK, you'd make it a little bit prettier. But that pretty much is what we wanted to do. And I guess the idea is that it's documents and it returns those documents. Based on the description, I wish it was a little bit more clear based on the marketing material and the AWS docs, but I'll reflect that in the slides so we fully understand what is going on there. I want to tear all this stuff down because I don't want that index around. Even though it's a free tier, it's going to cost us something. Say Kendra example here. Okay, we'll just sync that. We'll go back. And so I need to delete my data source. So say delete. Hopefully that deletes without issue. While that is deleting, I'm going to go ahead and delete the S3 bucket. I have a bunch of S3 buckets I need to delete. So I'm going to go ahead and just empty out bucket. I'm just going to sort this and see what the latest stuff I've created. So we have this one I want to empty, and this one, and this one. So yeah, you do whatever cleanup you got to do. I'm going to go ahead and just empty and delete these. Back in a second when that happens. All right, so that those buckets are all cleaned up. We'll make our way back over to Kendra. We'll take a look here at our data source if it has deleted yet, because we're not going to be able to delete that index till the data source is gone. So I'll give this hard refresh here. And it's still deleting. So we'll just wait for that to completely delete, then we'll delete the index, okay? And yeah, so if anyone's wondering, it takes a long time to delete these data sources. I have no idea as to why. But yeah, just understand that it's taking me quite a long time. I've been waiting here for, I don't know, at least 10 minutes. So just keep at it, and we'll make sure we clean this up here, okay? All right, so I mean, we got this. I'm not sure why that's happening, but it looks like the data source is gone. So let's go ahead and delete the index, because that's the last thing we have to get rid of here. And I'm going to go ahead and just, I don't know why it asks us, but we'll go ahead and delete that, and I'll be back here when this is done. It takes quite a few minutes, so we'll wait a bit, okay? All right, our index is done. I think I've committed my code there, so I'll see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.